Right, welcome to today's episode of Sustainkita Outreach Series. I'm Xiao Yim, the co-founder of Sustainkita, and I'll be your moderator of this episode. Sustainkita was founded in September 2022 by a group of young graduates from UK and Malaysia as a grassroots initiative to synthesize sustainability knowledge into easily digestible information for public consumption. Whereas Sustainkita Outreach Series is a podcast started in December 2023 where we ignite conversations about climate change and sustainability, curated by the youth for the youth. Our mission is to provide insights into these complex issues through bite-sized episodes. For more information, feel free to visit us on our social media page, Instagram or LinkedIn. So today we are diving into the world of sustainable plant-based diet, exploring the motivations, market trends, adoption strategies, challenges, as well as debunk some misconceptions around plant-based diet. Before we start, allow me to introduce our guest speakers of this episode. Sitting beside me, Dalilati Dayana, registered dietitian from a private clinic in Malaysia. Alongside being a dietitian, she's also a black belt taekwondo holder.
Yes.
Dalila, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Shao, for the nice introduction. My name is Dalilati Dayana. I'm a dietitian, and you may call me Dalila. Okay. So, agree. As Miss Shao said just now, I'm a black belt, but at the same time, I'm just a attentive dietitian that love everyone to just eat whatever you want. Okay, as long as your food will not jeopardize your health.
Thank you very much. So sitting on the left, that will be Ravena Hundal, Head of Marketing Malaysia at Kind Kones. So Kind Kones is an all-natural vegan ice cream brand. During her free time, she enjoys reading as well as watching Netflix. Please introduce yourself, Ravena.
Thanks for that, Xiao Yim. My name is Ravena. I've been in the plant-based food industry for the last 4 years. I head the marketing for Kind Kones, as she said. And I am also very passionate about reading and watching Netflix, but I have 2 children, so time does not permit me to do that. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to have you guys on board, and thank you for spending your time on Sunday to join us today. All right, whether you are curious about going plant-based, or you are already on the journey, or simply wanting to know more about plant-based diet, this is the episode for you. Before we start, I would like to emphasize that the content of this episode represents individual points of views, so it does not represent any of their role in their respective organizations. So please seek professional advice before making any shift in your diet. Before we dive deeper into the conversation, so I believe some of you might have some confusions around the terms like plant-based diet, vegan, vegetarian, etc. So allow me to just maybe ask Ravena to do us a favor to explain to our audience what do these terms mean and what really differentiates them.
Sure. So plant-based food typically means a diet that focuses on whole foods made out of plants. So you're talking about your fruits, your seeds, your legumes, your lentils, your beans, your vegetables. And it's about making food choices that emphasize these whole foods. On the other hand, you have vegans. I think veganism is mostly, it covers a broader aspect and not just about your food choices, but it's also lifestyle choices. You do not, there will be no such animal byproducts within your choices. This includes, no eggs, no honey. You refrain from wearing leather. And so it's a lot wider compared to just the plant-based food side of things. And I think the vegetarians is simply you just avoid eating meat. So no fish, no chicken, but it may include some sort of dairy, whether that's eggs or milk. And I understand, I think, Dalila, you can sort of explain this part better. I think there are maybe a few other types of vegetarians as well.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Ravena. Yes, whatever that Ravena explained just now is correct. Yeah. So basically, plant-based is just a general term. So in a plant-based, there will be vegetarian, vegan. We also have lacto-ovo-vegetarian, ovo-vegetarian. So all the different was by what are the food that you eliminate in your diet. So for example, like vegetarian, you will eliminate all the animal-based food and just include dairy and egg. So for example, like lacto-vegetarian, you will remove the egg only, but dairy you still take it. For example, if ovo-vegetarian, they will take the egg only and will omit the dairy. So, and if vegan, yeah, it's like not extreme, but they will eliminate all the animal-based food lah, basically like honey, milk, dairy, cheese, and everything. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for the explanation. I hope the audience get a better understanding on all these different terminologies. Right, recently we do see a significant surge in interest among consumers to adopt a plant-based diet. And this shift is mainly, from my perspective, actually driven by various factors, including increased awareness on health benefits associated with plant-based diet, as well as environmental concerns. So true enough, a study published by Nature Food found that switching to plant-based diet can actually reduce annual agricultural production, this carbon emission by 61%. And research from Stanford University and UC Berkeley suggests that phasing out animal agriculture combined with a global switch to plant-based diet could have equivalent effect of reducing 68% of carbon emission through the year of 2100. So as a result, I guess more people are exploring and even considering switching into plant-based diet, leading to maybe a lot more availability of these plant-based products in the market. But that's just my perspective. Ravena, from your perspective, working at Kind Kones, what is the motivation or reason of people going plant-based?
I think there are plenty of motivators at play here. Health is a big one. I think plant-based food is viewed as being healthier, lower in calories, lower in, it's also associated with like weight management. And it's also associated with having reduced risk of chronic diseases like diabetes. Generally, when we incorporate a more plant-based diet, we're eating a lot more vegetables. We're eating a lot more, foods that are rich in, essential nutrients. So health aside, there's also the other thing that I think a lot of us are more aware of these days, which is the environmental impact. Something that is more common in people of our age, the millennials, Gen Z onwards, I think take this, are more aware of what is happening and are taking the steps to see how they can reduce the carbon footprint, right? And also, for the vegans, there's that ethical consideration where, you got to be kind to your furry friends. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of motivators to adopt a plant-based diet. And I think there is a growing trend towards greater acceptance and adoption of these diets. Social media is huge nowadays. There are a lot of celebrities, artists who are encouraging people to start eating more plant-based foods. Just to name a few, there's Joaquin Phoenix, there is Ariana Grande, there's Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish, actually, very interesting story. So last year, she had a concert here in Malaysia. And she made it a point to let the organizers know she wanted more plant-based and vegan vendors at her concert. And Kind Kones was one of them who got invited to be a part of the show. And I think that's huge.
That's impressive.
It is,
amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I think we are a lot more open to being aware and to educating ourselves, right, of what would be the better choice.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's why we are here today to discuss about plant-based diet, to really debunk some misconceptions, right? Actually, the next question, right? So we also understand that perhaps some people might think a plant-based diet is actually as a business agenda. So we're just not sure if it's really true. Maybe a question to Ravena.
I feel with the growing trend, but it's not all for business, or it may be a money-making scheme, I guess, but there are companies out there who are doing this for the greater good.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right? for what we do at Kind Kones, it's just to let people know that you can indulge, turning into a plant-based, adopt a plant-based diet does not mean that you have to sacrifice on good things.
Exactly.
You can still enjoy your food.
Yeah.
You can still enjoy living. And you do that without compromising on quality and taste, right? It's just kinder to the planet and to your own bodies.
Right, Ravena, Kind Kones is a very interesting company. Can you just tell us more about Kind Kones?
So, Kind Kones was actually started by my co-founder Serena Bajaj with her husband. It was when she was pregnant and she realized she had a dairy intolerance, and she started making ice cream in her kitchen, dairy-free ice cream in her kitchen, just to satisfy her cravings. I think they realized there was a gap in the market during this time, and this was like about 7-8 years ago. And they realized that there was a gap in the market to provide healthier desserts, not to everyone, including children. And our ice creams are dairy free. They're with some gluten free options, but they're vegan friendly. And we use coconut milk and cashew milk as the base of the ice cream. And you're going to find a lot of surprises in the ice cream. We've got like whole chunks of almonds, chia seeds, basically ingredients that are good for your body. So, which is why I mentioned earlier, you don't have to give up on good things. And, when you taste the ice cream, you can taste how it's premium in quality and it doesn't compromise on taste. So give it a shot. It's really not that bad. And once you've tried it, you should try almond brittle fudge. That's our best seller.
Do we have tested?
I should have brought some.
Yeah, so how we can find it?
So we have 2 outlets here in KL. We have one in Bangsa Village, one in Plaza Damansara, and we've got a couple of outlets in Singapore as well.
Okay.
So if you're ever there, if you're ever in Bangsa, give me a call. I will personally serve you a
will
scoop.
do.
Thanks, Ravena. I will also specifically request for some discount.
For sure. For sure.
Coming back to you, Dalila. So based on your clinical experience, do you feel the same or you have other observations that you'd like to share?
In terms of the growing trend?
Exactly.
Yeah, I would say that yes, basically most of my patients, right, have their increase in terms of consumption of plant-based. Because if I can see half of my patients, not half lah, like about 30% of them are applying all the plant-based lah, whether vegetarian or vegan and sort of like that. And there's an interesting story whereby one patient, he came to me and then he proudly said he doing vegan. And I just asked him because is it because of religious or anything, right? And then he just said, oh no, because I love animal. So I want to be kind with them. So actually, it's true. Some people, they applying the vegan because of the environmental itself. And at the same time, they want to taking care of their health.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. I guess we can all agree that it's really driven by this, health consciousness, second, environmental concerns, as well as particularly when it comes to animal welfare.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing. So now we have talked about the current trend, right? What about the future trend? Do you see it as a trend that will continue to grow? I mean, it's proven that based on market research, there's a compound annual growth rate of about more than 11%. Until 2030 for this plant-based market. So just to understand from your point of view, do you see it will be a growing trend as we move to 2030?
I believe yes, because the thing is that's why our Malaysian Ministry of Health, we propose the guideline for Malaysian for vegetarian, so that even though they apply the vegetarian diet, they still can taking care of their health. So yes.
What about you, Ravena?
Definitely. It is definitely a growing trend, and it's just going to keep growing and growing.
That's why Kind Kones is here.
Exactly.
Right?
And we started a long time ago. So it's growing, But definitely in the next 20, 30 years, you see a lot more plant-based restaurants opening up. You see restaurants expanding on their menus. You see a lot of skincare brands that I've personally worked with who have launched a fully to go fully vegan.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So it is definitely growing, and there has to be some truth behind why people are doing this,
Right. So young ladies or ladies out there, so apart from plant-based diet, there's also plant-based skincare, right?
Yes.
So yeah, something you can look into if it's really bring you more benefits. So next, we're just pivoting a bit on to understand the benefits actually of the plant-based diet. So we all know that plant-based diet comes with various benefits. Maybe Dalila, you can just explain to us what exactly are the benefits and what's the reason behind all these benefits?
Okay. All right. So actually, I believe Ravena already mentioned a bit just now in terms of the health benefit. But ultimately, I will say it helped to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, or in a simple way, heart disease, like heart attack, block the arteries and everything, right? So it really give a positive impact towards it, especially when just the data whereby one of the larger causes of premature death in Malaysia, premature death meaning you died in a younger age, is because of cardiovascular disease. And plant-based really help to reduce the risk of these cardiovascular diseases lah. And the reason why cardiovascular diseases, again, in terms of heart disease and everything, okay, it's related to our heart. So, and the reason why, because most of the plant-based is come from the low in fat. Okay, low in fat. In terms of calories, it's not playing that much because still, if you take in a large amount, the calories is still there. But the fat is very huge difference when we're comparing to the animal base.
That's great insight. I know about cardiovascular disease, but I didn't know about premature babies death.
Yeah, premature death. Meaning,
okay.
Usually maybe people die in 60 years old, but now even 25 or 30 already death because of the cardiovascular diseases.
Thanks so much for sharing this.
And you mentioned lower in fat, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like cholesterol free almost, like lower in cholesterol, lower in trans fat.
Correct. Because usually cholesterol or trans fat, the main source is the animal.
Exactly.
So hence, we can still claim like cholesterol free, but still need to be careful with the terms lah.
Maybe I just want to understand a bit more on the fats as well as, how it affect our health. And as you mentioned just now, plant-based diet is lower in fat content.
Yep.
Is that right? So maybe just want to understand a bit more on maybe from your perspective, how the biology works when it comes to fats and how it linked to cardiovascular disease.
Okay. So for example, in terms of our heart, right? Okay. What causes of, if it's too scientific, please stop me. I try to explain in a layman way, but in terms of cardiovascular disease, or we take the heart attack as example, when we eat too much of fat intake, it can increase our cholesterol. So still, even we say that, cholesterol free, but if the cooking method is using high in fat, for example, deep frying, so the amount of fat intake still can be increased, and it can increase our cholesterol in our body lah. So this cholesterol will build up in our blood vessel and can cause block over there. So when there is a block in our blood vessel, that can cause the heart attack. Is it understandable?
Yeah.
Right. So basically, so that's the relation on how your high fat intake can increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. And in contrast, when you take low in fat or high in plant-based with the correct amount of fat intake, so eventually it can reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases.
Right. So now we move beyond fats. Let's look at protein. So I think some of us might think plant-based diet typically is a lack of protein. So that leads to a bit of protein deficiency. Maybe, Dalila, is that true? And is it partially true? Maybe you can just explain to our audience.
Okay. So for example, regarding the protein deficiency, it's very hard to achieve that amount of deficiency. You know what I mean? Because for example, rice or starchy food also got protein. For example, right? So like plant-based food still got protein. So if you're applying plant-based food and you take in the correct amount, for example, like 2 servings legumes, like lentils and everything per day, you can achieve your protein amount. So basically protein deficiency, it's a bit hard to achieve till that extent because you still can get the sources from other types of food.
Okay, so if I understand you, so there are several points. One is really plant-based food contain protein. And second thing is just be more selective when it comes to plant-based food and choose the ones really high in protein content.
Yep,
and
exactly.
That will avoid or maybe lower the chances of you getting protein deficiency.
Yes,
and one thing for sure is it will not lead to protein deficiency by just consuming plant-based diet.
But exactly, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Can I just add? There's also plant-based protein powder if you
Yeah,
need.
soy
You do,
base,
yes,
right?
yes. There
Yeah.
are brands here that have started like plant-based protein powder. So for those who live a very active lifestyle and you think you're having a plant-based deficiency, try a nutritional drink.
Especially when it comes to, an athlete's point of view, they might be protein deficiency if they go for plant-based diet. Maybe just want to understand from Dalila's point of view, right? Is it really the protein deficiency that really, causing these problems for athletes, or is other issues?
Okay, so for athlete, yes, somehow, because athlete they need high protein diet, and if you just go for the plant-based and monotonous, yeah, that's the term. Because usually when we go for plant-based diet, our pattern tend to be monotonous, where you just eat tofu only or chickpeas only, for example, right? So it cannot provide the essential nutrients and also adequate protein for the athlete. So for athlete, some kind of essential nutrients like iron, zinc, magnesium are really important for reducing cramps, healing for the injury and everything. So when you're taking the plant-based diet alone with a monotonous pattern, there is a tendency for you to have a nutrient deficiency, specifically in terms of iron, zinc, vitamin B12, and also, vitamin B12. So for this kind of person, usually they will have their own nutritionist or dietitian together with them to plan out the menu for them. And supplementation is needed for this population lah, for the athlete. Supplementation, like usually we go for the vitamin B12, okay? Meanwhile, for the iron or zinc, magnesium, all this kind of food, there are a lot of iron-rich food that you can opt. For example, simply like spinach, lentils, all the green leafy vegetables are high in iron. And there's also some tips, okay, to make sure that we can increase the iron absorption, because just to let you know, iron from the plant-based food is non-heme iron, whereby the absorption of the iron is very low, about 5 to 10% the absorption rate. So hence, we always encourage, if you want to take the iron from the plant-based food, please take it together with vitamin C base. Like, what the vitamin C food? Simply like oranges. Correct. Oranges, some lime and everything. Just put it in your meal that have iron-rich food. For example, when you cook kale, spinach, just add on your lime, okay? First to spice it up, and also to make sure we can increase the iron absorption for it.
Any other products in the market that you actually recommend to our audience?
I mean, personally, for me, it's the plant-based protein powder that I have tried. It's from Heal Nutrition. Really good. The chocolate one, try it. Apart from that, it's really just, for me, if I am going on a meatless day, I try and focus on things like what Dalila, you said, your tofu, tempeh, edamame, things like that. And also, I also just found out that quinoa is like a
Yes.
It's actually like a
high in
perfect,
protein acid, correct?
right? Because it's got like all 9 amino acids or something along those lines. So, yeah,
Yeah, just to be careful with the protein powder, because we a dietitian don't really like it. No lah, just kidding.
That's good to know.
No, because the thing is, only if you have a limited choice or sources of protein, or you are in very active
Workouts,
doing
right?
the physical activity, yes. So basically for me, if you want to take protein powder, please get advice from the professional so that it will not burden your kidney by taking it excessively. Because for example, you can always refer to the nutritional fact, like one scoop is about 21 gram. 21 gram, for example, person like 40 kg body weight, it's already achieved half of the protein requirement of the day. But actually that one you still can achieve by taking the plant-based food only. Okay, it's a bit complicated here, but again, just what I want to try to emphasize is, please seek a medical professional like dietitian, nutritionist, even your sport trainer will help, okay, in terms of how much that you can take for the protein powder. Okay?
Definitely, Dalila. So what we are sharing here are just some examples and options for you to consider. So if you really want to practice it, please consult a dietitian or professionals before switching your diet. All right, just shifting gear a bit. We hope you find our discussion insightful. And so this channel is currently self-funded. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a like, a thumbs up, and comments on the YouTube channel section below, right? So this will really help us to grow. And your feedback and engagement will help us to bring you more content that's relevant and matters in the sustainability space. Follow us on social media for more content related to sustainability and climate change. And feel free to drop your topic or suggestions in the comment section below. I think you touched on just now on, how we can start on a plant-based diet. So maybe we'll just dive deeper into that, right? What are the simple steps someone who is new to plant-based diet can start their journey of being plant-based?
So when I first entered the plant-based industry, I had zero idea of where to start, right? But there's this huge social media movement called Meatless Monday, where it just encourages you to have one plant-based meal, for the entire day out of 7 days. So just baby steps, right? So I decided to try this baby steps. I, took on Monday when I was at work. I had my ice cream, obviously, for dessert. And I had my coffee with oat milk. I had rice with vegetables. And I did it. I think it's really just not putting any pressure onto yourself. It's really just taking this very gradually, one step at a time, one day at a time. It's about just trying to tell yourself to, reduce the amount of meat intake or meat meals and just try and increase more plant-based foods. We start small, which is also more sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that for me worked.
Yeah, definitely. So I think what you're saying is start small, start gradual with moderation, because if you go too extreme, your body might not be able to cope with that change. All right. So moving on, right? Just like you mentioned about feeling a bit of overwhelmed and sometimes for some people who are really making a shift and also having the feeling of unable to go for their favorite food. So how can we go about that? Practicing plant-based diet at the same time enjoying the food that we really like?
I feel like it comes down to just trying to know and understand what you're eating, right? Like with your favorite food, there's always ways that you can swap out certain ingredients and opt for a more plant-based one. For example, if you like the texture of meat, mushrooms have very similar texture, or if you like milk, dairy milk, right? I find oat milk having very similar creaminess. It's doable, but I think we just need to be a bit more aware of what we do have available in our surroundings. And of course, if you are going to start, then there's so many other things you can do. You can look at meal planning for the week. You can, which will, again, not only just, encourage you to consume more plant food, it will also be kinder to your pockets when you plan your meals, and you can purchase things like quinoa, for example, maybe not in moderation, and use that same item for several different meals, right? Slowly ease yourself into it. You don't have to give up on things that you love. I find that, and if you are like me, I like a lot of seasoning in my food. I like my food spicy. Chili padi helps with everything. Honestly.
And onion.
And onions, yeah.
Powerful ingredients.
Yeah.
How about, just a question lah. How about if someone who don't like to cook?
That's me.
Oh, okay. So
don't
how you
cook.
do it?
I don't cook. So what I do
With
is
the meal
I have like a few favorite meals that I do opt for. During when I do Meatless Monday, it's simple things like wraps. I've got like my lentils to make it look like it's minced meat. Put a lot of kale in there. I love kale. And it's just trying to keep things easy for me. So I don't cook. My mom does most of the cooking at home. But yeah, I think, and even then, accessibility, it's easy to get food out there.
It's doable.
It's super doable. Maybe in 5 years ago, there was that conception that, it was very difficult to get. It's expensive. Today, it's available everywhere. You just need to know what you can eat. You can go down to your mama stall and have a vegan meal. simple fried rice. Okay, what?
Yeah.
Fried rice is great.
Fried rice.
Right. So thanks, Ravena, for sharing your views from a practitioner point of view, right? So now I just want to understand a bit more from Dalila. From your point of view, how can we start small without depriving from all these necessary nutrients? I guess the questions here is really asking, what's the frequency ideally?
Okay, so again, I agree with Miss Ravina where he always encouraged to start small. Okay, usually how I will suggest my patient is try to have like only once, meaning in one day, only one meal time you have a meat or animal based food. Okay, and for example, you just choose lah. Okay, for example, you love to eat or easy to get chicken during lunch, and dinner you can prepare at home. So you can just go plant-based during dinner, and lunch you can just get whatever that you love first. Okay, and then from once a day go for 3 days per week, and then increasing day by day, something like that. Again, please don't overdo it because it will not sustain at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about being sustainable.
Exactly.
So this episode is named Sustainable Plant-Based Diet. All right. So I guess some people actually might feel plant-based diet is a bit bland and it's not as delicious, especially when it comes to replacement of animal fats. We all know that animal fats is juicy, the nice texture. So maybe Ravina can explain a bit on how we can get all these delicious food while practicing plant-based diet.
So I'm going to just touch on what I said earlier about seasoning and chili padi. I think I generally don't enjoy bland food. I like my food to be very flavorful, very spicy. And I find having, garnish on the side helps. I find having like chili oil helps. But again, I think taste is very, very subjective, right? There are so many places around. So just to, the first time I had a vegan nasi lemak, that was let me just tell you, that was mind blowing, right? I didn't know what to expect. Here I was, having something that looked like nasi lemak, but I was very skeptical. And when I tried it, I was very impressed because the rice tasted great. Of course, it's made with coconut milk, but the rendang was made with mushrooms and it was so tasty. I didn't feel like I missed, the chicken on that plate. And I also think a lot of this is just generally what you like and what you want to eat. For me, I like a lot of curries and stuff like that. And I grew up eating a lot of, curries and vegetables at home, which is easily substitutable. You can just, take out your chicken and put some potatoes in there and have a great curry.
Definitely.
Correct.
And if the concern is having no places to go out and eat, that's also kind of not true. A lot of places now again are adopting and expanding on their menu.
Yes.
So if you do have that choice of wanting to have one plant-based meal, it's not tough. And it's not something that is going to be bland. I mean, it depends where you go, right? You can go to a Mexican restaurant, have a lovely plant-based burrito, and you're still going to get the same flavors that you are opting for. Or you can go to your mama and have your Maggi goreng, or you can go to your, chap fan and have your same kind of food, just opt out the meat. So I don't understand where the bland aspect comes from. When I first joined Kind Kones, before joining Kind Kones, actually, I used to walk past this ice cream outlet and go like, ooh, vegan ice cream? What is that? But when I tried it,
Super amazing.
it tastes like ice cream.
Yeah. It's just interesting how, by just trying it out, it will change your perception on one thing.
Exactly. I think a lot of times it's just having that voice in your head saying like gross, and you just don't want to give it a chance. So
it's maybe the skeptical.
It's that skepticism that it's not going to live up to your regular, meat food. But if you give it a chance, actually, there are some really good options out there.
Yeah, for example, if you like Korean food, do you know like sundubu jjigae, the tofu stew? For example, some tofu stew, they will put the chicken, so you can just remove the chicken and maybe just add mushroom, and I think you already have the plant-based food with you. right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I personally enjoy the bibimbap. Like if you can go for the
Yeah.
vegetarian one, it's actually entirely just plant-based. Right, thank you so much for sharing. And that's very insightful. And not to mention our roti canai as well, right?
Absolutely.
It's actually plant-based.
So all of our Malaysian favorites, technically, if you look closer, almost everything is, you can have a plant-based option.
Yeah. Correct.
So I think we can all agree that it's really how you season the food to make it more delicious. So it's not necessarily bland and it's not necessarily not delicious. It can be really tasty by just putting a bit more effort to making it different. So recently, right, we see a surge in this plant-based meat in the market. So maybe from your Dalila point of view, just want to understand, if plant-based meat is a healthy option, and what are the considerations when one opt for plant-based meat?
Okay, thank you for the question. So these are the things that I really concern if someone tell me that, oh, I want to do plant-based diet, because I will ask what kind of protein sources that you want to take. If let's say he said to me, oh, it's super easy, we have a plant-based meat, right? That is the term, plant-based meat. I was like, okay, all right. So I would need to dig in further. The reason why, because even though plant-based meat, because I understand it's our human improvement where we always find for alternative, right? So plant-based meat is a good alternative, but you need to know it's still under processed food, or we call it as ultra processed food. So for this kind of plant-based protein, sometimes they have 50% of soy product, or 70% of the soy, or even 90% of it is soy. So this percentage of the soy base will determine how much of protein content inside the protein-based meat. So the concerning part where the protein is very little, but the carbohydrate, the fat, the sodium is super high. So usually this one is the cheap one, not the high price one lah. The most important thing is you need to see the nutrition facts behind the package there. So first you need to see in terms of the protein content. So if for one serving it's equivalent to 9 gram or 10 gram of protein, that's the good option. And the second one is in terms of the sodium. Okay, you need to see the sodium part below there, because some of the product are very high in sodium, and that's you need to avoid lah. Again, in terms of the taking this plant-based meat, we really need to take it in limited amount because it's still under processed food. So like whatever example that Ms. Ravena already said just now, all the modification that we can do, please go for the natural sources of plant-based rather than the plant-based meat. Just take it once in a week or twice in a week would be do. But if you can fulfill your plate with the natural sauces, would be very amazing. Yeah.
So it's all about, being more selective in the choice of plant-based meat, as well as eating in moderation. And as Ravina mentioned, as well as Dalila, always go for natural whole food. That's the best, right? So moving on, let's just steer a bit to debunk some misconception. So the first one is plant-based food can be quite expensive. Maybe a question to Ravina first. Is it true? And if it's not true, then why?
I think maybe 7-8 years ago, yes, because it was such a new term that was coined. But I think today, if you do the right things like plan your meals and it can actually be a cheaper option, right? Because you're looking at sources from local sources for food. And, even for us, when we first started, right, we priced our ice cream a little on the very premium side. It was 45 ringgit per pint. But over the years, we've realized that, we've got a steady stream of customers. We can, reduce our prices to make the products more accessible. So we have dropped our prices to 34.50 per pint.
That's very significant.
It's huge. And funnily enough, we did this shift maybe end of last year. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with Oatside. It's a oat milk brand. And they recently announced the same thing, from 14.50 to 9.90 per 1 liter. That is amazing. These are brands that are coming out and telling you, like, it does not have to be expensive.
All right.
It can be affordable.
Right. Just to maybe a follow-up question, is it fair to say that the price reduction is really due to, the increased demand?
Of course. Of course, yes. Because that way we can, procure larger bulks of the inventory that we need and reduce our prices. It always comes, there is a growing demand. People are opting for more plant-based foods.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, so some plant-based food might be expensive, but the pricing will reduce over time if you just, really opt for that. With increased demand, Ravena and her colleagues, we can strive for, cheaper options, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just touching a bit on getting affordable plant-based food is really about opting for whole food, right? Or just cook at home. Any other tips to really, reduce the expenditure on plant-based diet?
I think it comes down to, if you're cooking at home, do your meal planning, right? First things first is do your meal planning. You do your groceries on your weekends, plan it out. The more of something you buy, the cheaper it's going to become, or more affordable to your pockets. The second thing is, you don't have to look, if you're eating out, you don't have to look at those expensive places, right? You can go again to your, I like to eat my chap fan, so I like to go to a Chinese shop, have my rice, I have my, vegetables. The range or the variety of vegetables available in a lot of our restaurants is amazing. We just don't realize it. I think a lot of cultural aspects are in play as well, right? I'm a Sikh by right. We're supposed to be vegetarians. And if you go to like a Punjabi shop to get some food, you're going to get good variety of vegetables. If you go to a Hindu Indian shop, you're going to get a great variety of vegetables, because I think culturally we grew up eating a lot of vegetables. Even at home, I practice a very balanced diet in my house. There's always your rice.
Amazing.
Right? I mean, this is thanks to my mom, no thanks to me. But, but we always have our rice. We've always got like at least 1 or 2 vegetables and a protein. So honestly, if you're looking for affordable options, look around. It's everywhere.
Just to know what are the example, what are the sources, that's all.
Correct. And even when you go and have Malay food, you got the ulam there, you got like a lot of vegetables that I think it's just sometimes when we are presented with a term or we like to like shy away from it, or we're a bit like, taken aback, like, what is this? But then if you actually deep dive and you realize, man,
yeah, sometimes really whatever we are consuming is already plant-based, just that we are not aware of it. And how we grow up, true enough, from a Chinese family, is a lot of vegetables, right? And if I were to conclude, right, actually what you say just now, chap fan, roti canai, all these are very cheap options. They are locally made, locally produced, and that's why they are cheap.
Correct.
So I guess the question here is really always go for local produce, local brand. And that's where we will also reduce our carbon footprint. At the same time, making sure that we have enough expenditure for the following months. Yeah. So that's cultural point of view. That's very interesting. Roti chana we talk about, chap fan we talk about. What's your favorite dish?
Mine?
Yes.
Fried rice.
Fried rice. Okay, yeah, it's fried rice. What about you, Dalila?
Easy.
With the plant-based meal?
Yes, plant-based meal.
I would say tofu. I love tofu and tempeh so much. Maybe because I have, Javanese, my father is from Jawa. Jawa? From Indonesia.
Tempeh.
Yeah, so
Yes.
tempeh is a must in our household lah.
Yeah, I love tempeh actually, now that you mentioned it. Yeah.
And also basically, I would say in terms of the Asian cooking, right? I do believe because I do have like patients from international background, like from Iran, Africa, and like Arab. So whenever I want to suggest a plant-based food, it's a bit challenges because, what is tofu? Oh, I don't like the tempeh texture and everything. So I said, okay, so it's a bit challenges for me to suggest what kind of food, what kind of modification that they can do. So yeah, if us Asian, Malaysian, we are very easy to opt for plant-based diet lah.
Yeah. And just to add on, right? So I used to study in London. So what happened there is tofu is expensive. So things that produced in Malaysia is expensive there. Curry leaf is about £1. So yeah, so plant-based diet is actually easier to practice in Malaysia in locally, right? So instead of thinking that plant-based food has to be expensive, there are a lot of locally produced, locally made plant-based food already in Malaysia.
We just don't realize it.
Yeah. Any other points you'd like to raise along, with this plant-based diet, food, local food? Any other interesting experience?
So a few days ago, I was just online and I was reading some stuff, and I came across this article that said that 90% of Asians are lactose intolerant. And I found that to be very interesting because I grew up drinking like Milo and I kept telling my mom, like, no, I don't think I can do like a morning drink anymore. Only to realize years later that it just is not kind to my gut. Like it's not gut friendly for me. Like growing up, I realized that, okay, I had digestion issues, but growing up, tell your parents, be like, okay, I just have a Panadol or, but
Just drink a plain of water.
Yeah, just drink some water. It's okay. But then you come to an age where you realize that, wow, okay, maybe my stomach can't really process like dairy milk. So what I do now is I have like one oat milk latte when I wake up and I feel a lot better. And then later on throughout the day, I'll probably have like a normal coffee with And it's interesting. And I think just touching on that point that we are in Malaysia and it is a lot more accessible, more than you think, which is probably why one of the reasons you see so many other brands now. You see every cafe that you go to will have an alternate milk option.
Yes.
Okay, I don't agree with the 3 ringgit additional charge for, to opt for alternate milk. I think we can go a bit lower, but that option is there.
Yep.
And you have like coffee players who offer more affordable coffee. So when you add that 3 ringgit and you say, okay, it still works out to be about 10 ringgit, not so bad.
Yeah, I think it all goes back to this economy of scale, right?
Exactly.
Because oat milk is rare. Yeah. So all these, products become expensive. They become premium. And that's why coffee shop can charge you additional 3 ringgit.
Exactly.
Okay. Any thoughts from you, Dalila?
Maybe I have some interesting story regarding the processed food. Yeah. So actually, I have one patient. He's just 29 years old, gentleman, very young, but he came with me with the hypertension, with medication. Hypertension is high blood pressure with medication. So when I saw him, he said that, oh, I just eat, everything is very, very healthy. I eat vegan and everything. So I was like, okay, you eat vegan, but you have hypertension. Why? So when I dig in further, because of the processed food, I would say for the 3 main meal, breakfast, lunch and dinner, he prepared by himself. He's single, I think rental somewhere in KL. So he always go for home cook and the processed one. Like single man, they want the easy option, right? So like breakfast, he will go for patty, the tofu patty. And then the lunch, fish textured, plant-based, right? And then dinner also same. And also the cooking method, if you can see for the processed food, more towards the deep frying. Very high in fat that can trigger your cholesterol, trigger your blood pressure with the sodium inside the processed food. Hence, this is a real case study. So Malaysian, please, if you want to take the processed meat, please take it in moderate amount. Please limit it and always go for the whole food. Regardless plant-based or animal-based, please go for the whole food. Because the non-communicable disease or this hypertension, cholesterol and everything is very serious in Malaysia, guys. Please help us to reduce the healthcare costs. Yeah.
Right. I think just to elaborate further, right? I think that just doesn't just happen to single men. I think it applies to every one of us, especially working adults who are very busy, with their work, etc. Still need to come home and prepare their meals. It's just not easy to juggle.
Correct.
So as we wrap up today's episode, right? So we just want to encourage everyone to consider the benefits of adopting a plant-based diet. However, as what Dalila repeatedly mentioned, it's essential to look into the real signs and look into your own health conditions before changing your diet. So before we end this podcast, any final words, first from Ravena and then Dalila?
I think if you are going to try, adopt a plant-based diet, again, just take your time, be kind to yourself. Don't feel guilty if you mess up. It's not a do or die sort of a situation. It is you doing something for yourself. You have your own values that will probably reinforce your commitment to wanting to adopt a plant-based diet, whether it's fully or whether it's just, being a flexitarian. That's up to you, but be kind to yourself and just give it a chance. It's really not that difficult.
Okay, for me, again, I always emphasize for well and balanced diet, and also please seek some professional advice if you want to switch from the diet. And if let's say you think that, oh, is my food is healthy, is my food is okay, we have plenty of services out there, dietitian, nutritionist from the Instagram. You can just, let me get your opinion about my food. Super easy. Okay, it's very accessible. Please get some professional advice so that again, our food intake, our food pattern that we want to adopt as our lifestyle, right, will not jeopardize our health.
Right. Thank you so much, Ravena, as well as Dalila. So thank you all as well for tuning in this episode of Sustainkita Outreach Series podcast. We hope you find our discussion insightful. And so this channel is currently self-funded. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a like, a thumbs up, and comments on the YouTube channel section below, right? So this will really help us to grow, and your feedback and engagement will help us to bring you more content that's relevant and matters in the sustainability space. Follow us on social media for more content related to sustainability and climate change, and feel free to drop your topic or suggestions in the comment section below. Until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Amazing.